on Network Africa. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa re-elected as leader of the ruling African National Congress. France and Algeria mend ties after months-long visa row. And Ugandan authorities end 2-month lockdown in 2 districts at the epicenter of the Ebola outbreak. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. We begin the program in Liberia, where thousands staged a protest over economic hardship in the country during the weekend.
More than 1,000 people joined a demonstration in a suburb of Liberia's capital on Saturday, protesting over economic hardships and President George Weah's prolonged absence from the country. Large protests have taken place sporadically during Weah's 5 years in office, but anger over his government's management of the economy has grown as Liberians grapple with rising food and fuel prices linked to the Ukraine war and the fallout from COVID-19 pandemic.
We gather here today to draw the attention of the international community because this government is adamant. This government has deliberately refused to listen to the cry of the citizen. Because on several occasions, we have gathered to cry on this government, but the government deliberately refused to listen to our call. So for this reason, we have gathered here today peacefully as a citizen of this nation that is going through torment from the hands of George Weah, the president of this nation.
Many of the protesters wore shirts printed with the face of Alexander Cummins, who is the presidential candidate for the Alternative National Congress Party, challenging Weah for the presidency under the ANC flag.
We want a Liberia where every Liberian will be guaranteed the same opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is up to you, but you'll be guaranteed the same opportunity. A Liberia where we will stop the suffering, where we will stop the stealing. If you supporting me because you want your chance to play big shot or you want your chance to chop, you supporting the wrong person.
Saturday's rally in Monrovia's Painesville district was organized by a coalition of Liberia's 4 largest opposition parties, but internal disputes led all but one, the Alternative National Congress, to pull out at the last minute.
For Comrade Ramaphosa Cyril, his total is 2,476.
Well, after a hard-fought battle, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has been re-elected as the leader of the ruling African National Congress. At the ongoing conference of the party where the results are being announced, Mr. Ramaphosa scored 2,476 votes, putting him ahead of his rival and former health minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, who got 1,897 votes. Since his deputy, David Mabuza, declined nomination, immediate past Treasurer General Paul Mshatile has been elected the new deputy president of the party. The party's chairman, Gwede Mantashe, has been re-elected after beating 2 other candidates with 2,062 votes.
For position of president, we start with spoiled ballots. There were 4. And abstentions, those who did not care to present themselves to vote, were 7. And so for Comrade Mkhize Zwelini, his total is 1,897. And for Comrade Ramaphosa Cyril, his total is 2,476. Please, comrade. I continue.
A positive outcome, more positive for the governing party, but more importantly, extremely positive for the country, because all the good work that President Ramaphosa started at the onset of his term will now be accelerated, be given further impetus, and be sustained over the next term. Feels very energized, looks forward to continue the work that he has been doing. I will imagine that there will be some moments of reflection in terms of how do we improve from the successes that we've seen, but more importantly, how do we continue to get the whole country to rally behind these reforms that the president has initiated and has undertaken.
Let's get more of this. Joining us now is our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty De Beer. Hello, Betty.
Hello, Jockey. Good to see you.
Right, I don't know what to call it. That was a very electric atmosphere at that conference ongoing. But let's talk about those results. The margin seems to be a lot closer than most people would have expected. Tell us what was going on in there.
Well, if we recall from the nominations for President Ramaphosa, it was way over 2,000. And for Dr. Zweli Mkhize, his opponent, it was about 900 for nominations from the branches. But as you have in politics or close to election time, a lot of trade-offs, negotiations. It was touch and go for the President Ramaphosa at some point, where even his home province, Limpopo, said they wouldn't back him because he's not supporting their own candidate for some of the other posts. So yesterday there was a lot of running around. There was a lot of tension. And then the voting got underway. Some were asked to step down for others, some refused, some agreed. And then at the end of the day, negotiations went on really deep into the night before last night. And then he emerged the winner with 2,476 votes ahead of Dr. Zweli Mkhize, 1897. He actually came up to the podium and embraced him and congratulated him. They're friends, they're close. But politics, somebody has to win as well.
Right, so this win puts him in pole position to lead the ruling ANC in the 2024 elections. More details about this. So what's the next move for the party? Well,
the party will have to gather itself together. The factions, now they will be facing other parties who have already eaten into their numbers in the past, how many years, about 10, 15 years. So they will have to, election is in 2 years' time, 2024. He will have to try to unify the party. His enemies, if I'll use that word, they're going to regroup. Probably, if more negotiations go on, they will rally. Some have already openly said we're going to rally behind the president. If you look at the top seven, no more top six. We have an additional deputy secretary general. Two of them are not quite his choice. For deputy president, that's Paul Mashatile, wasn't exactly his choice. And then you have Nomvula Mokunyane, who is deputy secretary general 1. The rest are his allies, more or less. So how he manages to pull them all together and the party as a whole, we have the RET faction, that's those supporting the KZN people like former President Jacob Zuma. How he manages to get them together so that the ANC will draw back the numbers. It's going to be a tough call. Will draw back the numbers to go further ahead during that election, and also gaining the trust of the people. Some of these members of the top seven, they have question marks over their heads as well. Some have appeared over bribery issues at the State Capture Commission. Some have other issues hanging over their heads. So people are questioning how serious is he even to stop the issue of state capture or, misdemeanor in government. So how he's able to, or how the party is able to gain the trust of the people back. If the economy is improved in the next 2 years before the elections, probably they will trust the ANC more. And instead of not voting at all, they may start returning. Because now you have so many smaller parties that have broken away from the ANC, not as parties, but people who have broken away because they do not trust the ANC, and they have formed smaller parties, eating into the numbers. If the party is able to do that, it depends on what the president is able to do in the next 2 years. People are saying, do your reforms, tackle the issue of electricity. The unemployment figures are still high. Infrastructure development, stopping sabotaging of infrastructure. There's a lot of that where you have rail lines for the freighting companies. This is an exporting and exporting country. Rail lines being stolen, the ESCOM infrastructure being vandalized almost every day. So right now we're on stage 6. What is the government going to do about that? So the economy, unemployment figures, unity within the party, and the like. So gaining the trust of the people beyond the ANC, that's what may help the party come 2024. And I hope that they will all gather to see how they can support the president to do that. If all the other controversies don't even come up again to bite the president, because these are not gone.
Yeah, so I have been taking in all these things that you've been saying, trying to see how I can manage my next question to you. You did say that, over the years, the party's numbers have been eaten into, but then we still have all these other, rival political parties, other challenges, I would say. Going into 2024, how well a chance do you think Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC stands, knowing that these other parties might use, the Farmgate scandal and the economic crisis, to tone down what he's done in his presidency to actually try to woo voters onto their side? So how good a chance does he stand in 2024?
The ANC as a party still stands a chance. What I worry about is reduced numbers. If nothing tangible, nothing more positive is done in the next 2 years leading to the elections, that's just the main thing. What the different political parties want ideologically is not the same. So I don't think the opposition parties have the numbers or have provided a more viable alternative to the people regarding who is going to occupy government and who is going to probably improve the economy or improve the country. So it still stands a chance, but there's still the danger of the numbers of the ANC still going down further. Remember, in Parliament, it's gone down. Now we have 230 in Parliament, which is 400, from way up high there during the Mandela era to Mbeki, Zuma. During Zuma, it went down a lot further. And then now you're standing at 230 for the ANC. So there's a risk. If nothing, the president and his party have these 2 years to see, to make a bit of a change, which is what the people are asking for. Positive change, a better country for people to live a better life. For them, that's the window that they have to prove to the people that they can actually have their best interest at heart. That may draw back some numbers or that they may have lost, for them to hold on to the people, hold on to the voters. So these 2 years, they have that to do that. If not, I'm afraid they may still be ahead, but the margin will still be reduced. See what happened during the local government elections, where the ANC is now, from 2016, joining coalitions for the metropolitan municipalities like Johannesburg, like Pretoria, Ekurhuleni, and even Nelson Mandela Bay. They lost. They were high in number, but they didn't make majority. So they had to go into coalitions. And you had, like right now, you have the Democratic Alliance as the mayor of Johannesburg, the council is in coalition with other parties. So the ANC losing grip in municipal elections, that's one manifestation of the loss that they have incurred over the years. So gaining the trust of the people by doing right by them, governance-wise, less corruption or less display of corruption in government, that will go a long way.
Right, thank you for that update.
Thank you.
Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia reporting there. Still ahead on Network Africa, Burkina Faso filmmaker recalls golden era of cinema before insurgency. Details in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. To bilateral relations, France says it has ended months of tensions over a visa dispute with Algeria. According to a statement, French Interior Minister, on a visit to the capital, Algiers, announced a return to a normal consular relationship with Algeria. The move comes after Paris reduced visa quotas last year to its former colonies of Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia in a bid to encourage the countries to cooperate against irregular migration. Paris slashed rates by 30% for Tunisia and 50% for Algeria and Morocco in the hopes the countries would repatriate their citizens living in France as irregular migrants. However, the move sparked widespread public anger. But the French Interior Minister has praised an extremely strong relationship between Paris and Algeria. To health matters, Ugandan authorities have announced the end of a 2-month lockdown in 2 districts at the epicenter of an Ebola outbreak. Vice President of Uganda, Jessica Alupo, said that enough progress had been made to justify the decision. The government officials stressed that the authorities remained on a high alert for a possible resurgence. The 2 districts in question, Mubende and Kasanda, were confined by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni on October the 15th. And since September 20th, the East African country has recorded 142 confirmed cases and 56 deaths, with the epidemic even reaching the capital, Kampala. In November, local officials called for the lifting of the lockdown and for the government to provide assistance. The first doses of one of the Ebola vaccine candidates arrived in Uganda in early December. And the World Health Organization says climate change has driven an unprecedented number of larger and more deadly cholera outbreaks around the world this year. Dr. Felipe Barbosa from the World Health Organization says the increasing number of outbreaks is occurring after several years of irregular reduction in the number of cases and deaths. He adds that cholera crisis has been playing out across the Horn of Africa and the Sahel, accompanied by major floods, unprecedented thunderstorms, and a succession of cyclones.
The situation is quite unprecedented. So not only we are seeing more outbreaks, but these outbreaks are larger and more deadly than the one we have seen in the past years. And this increase in number of cholera outbreak is occurring after several years of regular reduction in the number of cases and deaths. What is again very new since the beginning of the year and the end of last year is a very visible impact of the climate change. Most of these large outbreaks and the fact that they are simultaneously occurring, which makes the situation much more complex, is a direct impact of the increase in adverse climatic events. For example, in the Horn of Africa, in the Sahel, but also in other parts of the world, major floods, unprecedented monsoons, succession of cyclone. So most of these outbreaks have or are still fueled by the result of the climate change. And
UN Peacekeeping Chief Jean-Pierre Lacroix has been stressing that gender parity remains a top priority for UN Peacekeeping and its partners. He adds that the world body is working to advance the role of women in peacekeeping and creating the right conditions for them to contribute fully in all roles. He was speaking at a meeting on women in peace and security in New York.
Gender parity remains a top priority for UN peacekeeping and our partners. We are working to advance the role of women in peacekeeping and creating the right conditions for them to contribute fully at all strategic, operational and tactical levels and in all roles. Enhancing data-driven approaches and gender analysis are enabling us to more systematically integrate gender perspectives into political strategies and mission plans. In the DRC, for example, indicators on WPS within the transition plan have contributed to the government taking forward WPS through its policies. In DRC and the Central African Republic, women's involvement in early warning mechanisms supported by the missions helped identify protection threats for women and girls, as well as to develop gender-responsive protection measures. Mixed engagement teams and gender-responsive patrols have been instructive mechanisms that contribute to women's safety, security, as well as their participation in peacebuilding and politics.
A spiraling insurgency in Burkina Faso's north has forced the government to increase security spending, diverting funds from its arts and culture budget in the process. Rust has almost erased the white-painted letters spelling program on a sign outside the sand-colored building that was once the only cinema in Burkina Faso's southwestern city of Bobo Dioulasso. Film producer Drissa Touré peers nostalgically through locked glass doors, thinking back to a time when residents of the country's cultural capital could enjoy films from across the continent and beyond on the big screen. He reminisces on a golden era during which he socialized with African movie stars and spent time in the United States.
I competed for the Camera d'Or. My film was first selected at FESPACO in 1994 and in 1995, and it brought me to the Cannes Festival. The letter came here, and I showed it to my mother. I said, "Mom, this is like the Mecca of cinema. I am going to the Mecca of cinema in France." And there it was, the joy. The once state-run Saint-Sagnon was relegated in 2020 to a National Social Security Fund, which ended film projections and rents the space out for more profitable uses, such as conferences and weddings. That desire, that need to give the dream to people so they can grow in the field was cut off, and I didn't have anyone to support me, and that made me sick. Heartbroken but not discouraged, Touré judged a week-long film festival at the start of this month that showcased a selection of African productions in a bid to revive local interest in the art. Burkina Faso has clout in the continent's film industry, with several feature productions landing international awards over past decades. The West Africa country hosts the renowned Pan-African Film Festival, FESPACO, in its capital, Ouagadougou, every 2 years. But the new festival is a first for residents of Bobo Dioulasso. In the history of Burkina-based cinema, you will see that many great names have come from Bobo Dioulasso. But there's never been this kind of festival to bring people together. A festival like this represents a moment of exchange, sharing, learning from the elders, and passing it on to a new generation. Seated in the audience with a wide grin, Touré says that participating in the festival felt like being reborn. As the curtain falls, he and other attendees leave the theater with the feeling that Bobo Diolasso's cinema culture might soon have an encore of its own. That's Network Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Choka Rogers.